Alright, so I'm going to make this quick video. It's not going to be too long, because there's not really a whole lot to cover here, but everyone keeps asking me, like how they should actually set the Trickster version of the build up. So let's get right into it, because it's pretty simple. So the most important thing between Deadeye and Trickster is when you're doing int stacking, you're taking the Ghost Shroud node, and you're also taking the, what is it called? Ghost Reaver, I think, the one that like makes Life Leech turn into Energy Shield Leech, because you need some form of recovery, and that's kind of the only good one you can get on Deadeye. Obviously, when you're mapping, you can do like recover things on kill and such, but when it comes to single target, and that is what this is focused on, the Trickster is better for bossing. Not because it has better bossing damage necessarily. It's probably equal damage, maybe slightly even more. It's hard to say. I haven't done that much extensive testing in that regard, but it's more so about the consistent defenses and the ability to get spell suppression. So the first thing is, when you're leeching on Deadeye, you know how leech works. When you fully recover all of what you were leeching, the leech turns off, and Trickster has the equivalent of the Slayer over leech in Soul Drinker, which just causes you to not lose leech when you hit max energy shield. It also just gives you 2% of damage leech's energy shield flat, and that's basically always going to be more than enough. But that overleech makes a world of a difference. When you're bossing, you know, you think about bossing, you think about invulnerability phases, you think about ball phases on like X-Arc, you think about like bullet hell stuff like in the Uber Elder fight, like things like this. When you have this kind of recovery, it is much more consistent, and that's across all content too. Just bossing specifically, you can really tell. It is a completely different experience. And on another like little benefit of using Soul Drinker here is you do get also 20% increased cast speed or attack speed, so that's also nice. Technically increases your DPS, but that is the most important thing. If you take anything away from this as a like factor to decide whether you're going to play it or not, use this one as your number one. You basically need to just think about it like, if I'm playing Deadeye and I get hit and there's nothing to hit, then you're borderline screwed. You just can't recover that energy shield back, period. But if you're playing Trickster, you won't even notice that your energy shield went down, because you're basically regenning at like an unbelievable rate. So there you go. The next thing, which is what I'm, in my opinion, the second most important thing, is that you get a little bit more of efficiency out of, and you have to take this node, by the way. If you want Soul Drinker, you have to take Escape Artist, so you'll always have this. And it did get slightly nerfed this league, but I think it was +4 to evasion per 1 ES on helmet, and it was +1 ES per 6 evasion on the body armor. I think that was the numbers before. But it's still pretty valuable. This just lets you be slightly more efficient with your body armor, and you also get a huge chunk of evasion that you would never get on Deadeye from this node, because you're going to have like 500 ES on your helmet, so you know that's another 2000 evasion flat, and you're talking about probably having around at least 2800 evasion on your body armor, so you just get, you know, it kind of will match a Twilight Regalia ES number. If you have like 700 ES plus like 2800 evasion, it'll basically match that, except you're also getting evasion out of it, so it's just a more efficient thing. Ghost Shroud recovery then becomes much more valuable, and you know, just having higher evasion is just obviously nice. You could even get like a Watcher's Eye at that point with like % chance to evade, and you'll probably be like 90% chance to evade if you get a nice rolled one. So super nice. Just makes mapping even more defensively comfortable again, so that's nice. And then there's Spellbreaker, which, so I'll talk in a minute about spell suppression, because you're playing the hybrid body armor, you can roll spell suppression on your body armor. So this kind of allows you to have at least, you can get up to 22%, I believe, from the body armor. And so if you combine that with this node, you're already at 42. You know, you take the wheel, you're like somewhere like 60%. And then you're getting really close to just being capped already. You know, you get it on one of a piece of gear, and then you take the spell suppression chances lucky. That's like the most efficient way that you can do it. Get like 75% spell suppression, and take the lucky node for like 92 or something like that % chance to spell suppress. And like, yeah, that's not perfect, but how often are you going to get one shot with 20k ES and, you know, 80k evasion with ghost shrouds. It almost never happens. So it's just a very, very solid, it's just a very, very solid form of defense for bossing. Because yeah, you'll just take 50% less damage most of the time to spells. And obviously it even, actually it's 60% usually, because it's going to happen when you're on full energy shield most of the time because your leech is so strong, right? So it's even stronger. It's just a very strong node. You don't have to take it. You can be greedy and take one of the other nodes on the ascendancy, and totally it's fine. You don't have to get spell suppression at all. It's just a route that you can take. So if you feel like, oh, I really want this character to be killing Ubers, I can do maps just fine, then you could just like decide to invest in spell suppression. And you really just can't do that on Deadeye because you just don't want to use the hybrid the body armor because you just lose so much ES that it's just not worth it. So it's, yeah, spell suppression in my opinion is only available on Trickster, and this is the sort of, most of the things I just discussed about it is here. I put a couple medium priced examples here. Obviously you can extrapolate the mods on these pieces of gear, and you know, you don't have to do hybrid everything. You only have to do hybrid body armor. You don't have to do hybrid boots. Like technically, if you don't care about spell suppression very much, then you would still get a warlock boots and warlock gloves just like you would on the Deadeye, because it's the most efficient energy shield pieces you can get. But if you did want the spell suppression, I would suggest that the first piece that you make a hybrid piece, because, well, another thing here is like, it's basically only the boots and gloves that you can really decide to make an evasion like hybrid energy shield base for a rare piece of gear, because the helmet is too important to have a really high ES number roll on, since you get that mastery on your tree for 100% increased ES from your helmet. I think if you did a hybrid base on the helmet, you'd only get like 300 probably realistically for a well-rolled one. So like you're talking about a how big of a difference is that? That's a 400 energy shield difference flat once you factor in the double from the mastery, so it's just not worth it. And then the shield is the same situation. Obviously though, you can use its series reflection on this ascendancy, like, and it's like even more efficient than the Deadeye, so I do suggest using a series reflection considering it's a 1 divine item right now. And yeah, if you don't want to sink tons and tons of currency into some kind of giga shield, but you can craft spell suppression. You can craft 10% spell suppression. Just keep that in mind. So the shield can have it. That's, I believe, what I did in the past when I played this on Trickster. So, and then a quick side note to a couple things here. You can use Ancestral Vision because you have spell suppression. It's probably not going to be perfect. Like, it'll probably be kind of annoying to try to fit it in. But like, if you use Storm Shroud, for example, and you don't want to use Storm Shroud, like maybe you want another flask suffix for something, you can maybe fit Ancestral Vision to get your avoidance. You just have to put like Shock Avoid on your boot implicits and Alley Avoid on the boot implicits to get like 50% there. Yeah, it could work. It's not perfect, but it's, you know, there's options. Here's one of the cool things about being always leeching, is you have some nodes you can take advantage of. Like your benchcraft for your gloves, you can get up to 40%. I don't think it's 43%. There was something about these gloves that made them do this, but either way, you can get like 40% damage while leeching, as just a free like suffix craft. I believe it's suffix. It might be prefix. I honestly can't remember, but either way, it's a really value craft. Just getting a bunch of increased damage at all times. Any of the attack damage large clusters, when I say attack damage large clusters, I don't mean like the ones that just read attack damage. I mean like it could be attack damage while holding a shield, dual wielding, like all those types of things. Like any that have attack damage, they can roll these. The better one is Feed the Fury, because 15 attack speed is just a lot. And if you have Ghost Reaver, oh, it also has 30% increased damage too, so it's just super value. But if you also have a Ghost Reaver, you can take advantage of the 0.4 attack damage, leech its life if you really wanted to. Definitely not necessary. But then obviously Fuel the Fight is good too, because it does give some attack speed and slightly less increased damage, but you also do get Mana Leech. So if you didn't want to get Mana Leech somewhere else, you could get it from that. And then there's a passive tree Anoint, which probably isn't better than just Anointing Tranquility already anyway. but you technically do have the option to get like 40% increased attacks damage and 10% speed, so that is an option. Because you're always on full life, obviously, because you're CI, so... Yeah, that's, there's more than that. There's more than that. I mean, you can probably look the, like, wild leeching effects up on PoE Wiki or something like that, and you'll probably find some stuff. Alright, so here is the biggest difference, and something that's going to be really confusing probably if you use PoE Ninja a lot looking for this stuff. So I'm kind of just going to read through the text that I wrote. So, because Trickster does not have access to the two projectiles like the Deadeye does, Kinetic Blast inherently has like much less clearing ability than the Deadeye. And through a lot of experimentation that I did in the past, and including a tiny bit this league, but mostly last league in 3.25, and scouring PoE Ninja last league, there was a lot of people playing last league the clustering variant on Trickster, this transfigured version of Kinetic Blast. And the differences are that you get a small amount of mana, of your mana, as added physical damage, which you can convert to lightning somewhat efficiently. Because you're playing Trickster, you can actually take the lightning mastery if you wanted to, and that will be a little bit more efficient if you have the polymath node, because it's also 2% more damage. Anyway, you also lose the ability to have additional projectiles. They turn into additional explosions. You lose the ability to split projectiles with Sniper's Mark. And your secondary explosion radius goes up by 0.8 meters. So, the important things to discuss here are, you only shoot one projectile, no matter what you do. And there's a way around this, because you would initially think like, okay, the clear is going to be cringe. And it is. It is, if you just have one single projectile. So the way you get around it is the tech that we already use with Spellslinger Tornado. When your single projectile hits that tornado, it will then fork. And it will give you more projectiles. And normally, with regular fork, it doesn't feel that great. It feels better, but it doesn't feel that great. But when you have a woke fork, an awakened gem, you get an additional fork. And so the projectiles that fork off your tornado, when they hit a pack, they fork again. And the explosions that this creates are much bigger radius. Like, you see it go up by 0.8, you think it's not that big of a deal. I'm going to demonstrate to you why it's a big deal. I'm going to show you what it looks like. I can do that. The clear is just as good. If you have Awakened Fork, the clear is just as good as regular Kinetic Blast. So, like, technically, I guess it's probably better on Deadeye. The clear is better on Deadeye because it's just extremely consistent and nothing can go wrong. But obviously your forked projectiles could technically like just not hit the pack that you were trying to aim it at, because they do like choose a random direction kind of. So, you know, but I'm going to demonstrate to you how smooth it is. And it's still like top tier, like maybe at least top 3 clearing skills in the game. So it feels totally fine. And another thing that's important about this is that the secondary projectiles, because of that AoE increase, the secondary projectiles overlap on single target. So you're losing coverage by just how many projectiles you're throwing out to guarantee hits with Kinetic Blast originally, and instead you're just getting guaranteed overlapping because the AoE is bigger. So this is technically more consistent single target DPS. Trying to like get this one, like how many hits are happening per second, I really can't even try to assume, because I don't have a character that I would trust to look at that data, and I just also I don't know. It's really hard, but all I can say is like it seems like it's better from previous experience, because the character that I'm going to hop on to show you this AoE difference in the clear is much weaker than the character I have in the current league. But the Uber DPS feels it's not comparable because it's not a mirror wand, but like before I had my mirror wand and stuff like that, it was better, and it was a much worse setup character. So yeah, I mean that's basically it. There's not much else to cover. I'm gonna show some and link some examples. I have 4 characters pulled up. 2 of them are Kinetic Blast, 2 of them are Kinetic Blast with clustering. To show you 2 examples. One of them is like the expensive like goal, I want to get to this point of the character, versus there's like a more slightly budget option. that is still not cheap, but it's not crazy expensive. So before we do that, I'm going to go into the game and show I'm going to illustrate the clustering. So this is regular Kinetic Blast, and I'm using an MTX so you can see the AoE.
Just need a moment to catch my breath.
And this is like without Spellslinger, just to make it very easy to see. Like you can see the AoE. That's what Kinetic Blast looks like. Okay, Kinetic Blast of clustering. This is the AoE for Kinetic Blast of clustering explosions. Oh, hold on, let me put the MTX on. Noticeably bigger. It is a difference that you will notice, and when you're hitting a boss, you will notice that those secondary explosions are indeed hitting the boss. Now, this looks so weak, right? The single projectile. Well, if you put on the Spellslinger, now it looks like that. Okay, so it's completely different. Clustering overlap is really important, and I do have a map to run through here. I just picked some random map and tab. I don't even know what this tree is or anything. I guess it's nothing. But either way, you'll see the gameplay is very, very similar. But yeah, like I said, this character's a lot weaker. The only thing that this character has that's better than my character is the haunted spirits that you got from the King's March crafting. So that's it. That's what it looks like. That's what it feels like. This one's also dual wielding, so it has that advantage of scaling more damage like that. So you can understand that, like with current tech and the mirror wand and everything, that like you could get on the Trickster, like it will outperform in single target. It will. I will not be making one. For the record, I will not be making one because I'm the kind of person that I don't stick to builds for more than like a couple weeks. Like I've already started crafting for my next project, which I'm not gonna spoil. I'm gonna wait, but it looks like it's gonna be really spicy. So yeah, let's hop into the browser real quick to wrap this up and pull up these characters. Oh, we're already in it. I'm just gonna do this. Okay. So this is an example of regular Kinetic Blast. This is the strongest Trickster regular Kinetic Blast I could find. And again, I will have these linked in the description by their character name. So just, well, I guess actually there's like Asian letter. I'll just, you'll get it. It'll be there. This is the expensive aspirational version of Kinetic Blast Trickster, regular Kinetic Blast. I don't need to explain much here. It's just like go to the PoB and like look at what's going on here. It's not that different. You'll notice like it's really not much different. He's using GMP though, because he kind of has to, right? Because that's what I'm talking about with the Kinetic Blast. You want the extra projectiles or else it feels bad. So to be honest, you shouldn't be using regular Kinetic Blast, but at his character's point, like it doesn't matter. Whatever he just likes better, you just use it. This is a more budget version of regular Kinetic Blast. This shield is super value for mapping. Gives you a bunch of added flat lightning. Just some budget int stacking. I think it's actually 36%. Yeah, it's 36% int, and he's got like the budget Eyes of the Great Wolf too. Yeah, so this is like maybe... Okay, his body armor is insane. That is not budget. That is not budget at all. Either way, though, you get the point. He has budget things around the build. But here is the one that I think people should actually try to do. And this character is actually at a somewhat realistic point still. This budget isn't completely too far gone. But this guy's getting Kinetic Blast of Clustering. You can see he has some fizz damage because of the added that he'll get from this. Does he even? No, so you can take this wheel and you can convert 40% of that to lightning, which I would advise doing since you're using Doriani. Merc, he's got the mirrored wand. He's got all the gear that you'd want to have. He's doing the Bound by Destiny tech, which, for the record, just putting this out there, this is very worth doing. You should do it. I'm just not doing it on my character because I'm done upgrading my character. I'm not taking it any further. I'm happy with where it is, and I'm just going to move on to my next character. So there's a lot of things you can learn by scouring these PoE Ninja things. You should do this. You should look at other builds on PoE Ninja, because they're going to have tech that I don't know about or didn't bother to do because I moved on. So if you need more, go there. Please use this website. It is the strongest tool you will ever have if you're trying to figure out what to do with your character. So, and he's, with all this budget, he's still using the shield. Okay, so like that's how you know this thing is extremely valuable. Yeah, his setup is golden. You don't need better than this. And then this is the budget version of the clustering. So this is the same build, just a much more tame version. You've got like the classic wand that's really easy to craft. He's got like a decently rolled cogwork ring with a decent synthesized implicit here. All this stuff, and 868k PoE Ninja tooltip is really solid. You can see he's invested in the spell suppression too. He has 100%. And he's using Forbidden Flame and Flesh for polymath, which is really great. That's another thing too. Trickster is really good when it comes to getting Forbidden Flame and Flesh, because all the Trickster nodes are like so valuable. So yeah. Anyway, I'll have these linked in the description, and like I hope that this was informational enough or educational enough. There's not that much information to actually go over. I've basically covered everything I know that is the differences between the two. And I hope that if you roll Trickster, you have a great time, because I think it's gonna be. So, good luck.